You thought he was done? You thought the takes were too hot to handle? You better think again. He's back with even more scorching opinions, more controversial predictions, and the kind of truth bombs that only Zain Bando can deliver. If you missed the first round, prepare yourself. This is the follow-up you've been waiting for. It's time for Zain Zinger Part 2, another certified hit from the Empty the Bench Network. Here's your host, Zain Bando.
What's up, everyone? We are live on Zain Bando. This is Zain Zinger Part 2. Thank you so much for joining me. It's Monday morning, near the end of December, right before Christmas. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to Zain Zinger Part 2. Greatly appreciated. We are live pretty much anywhere and everywhere. Let's talk about where we are live at this very moment in time. So, we are live on Twitch. We are live on Kick. We are live on Playback. Excuse me, I almost said Playback. Sorry about that. We're live on Kick, Twitch, X, obviously YouTube as well. My channel, the ETV Network's channel, and so much more. Thank you so much to everybody who's tuning in right now. And again, if you're missing this, you can catch this replay, as it says, Monday's episode and or replay live on all those platforms. So shout out to all you guys that are tuning in. Sorry it's a day later than what it was supposed to be, but we are live. We are here. It is Zain Zinger Part 2. We'll go about 45 or so minutes like we usually do on this. We have about 4 topics to get through today, but thank you so much once again for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Again, an extension of Bando's Blitz, an extension of Bando's Breakdowns, which just wrapped up its 2025 season this past week with episode 71. And speaking of future episodes of Bando's Breakdowns, I would be remiss if I did not mention this as well. But just as a quick reminder of programming note, January 9th, 2026, we will be returning with new episodes of Bando's Breakdowns. That'll be episode 72, again, January 9th, 2026, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. All right, let's get into the show without further ado here, as we like to do every single week or in every weekend. But nonetheless, though, let's get into it, and let's get into the boatload of topics that we will be discussing today. We're going to start with the college football playoffs. So, the college football playoffs so far, it's been good. It's been really good, in fact. It's been quite interesting, to say the least. So, a major upset, or I guess if you want to call it an upset, you can. The biggest surprise to me was Alabama's comeback against Oklahoma on Friday night in Norman. That was definitely very interesting. And it was interesting in the sense that, not a lot of people knew, what this Alabama team was or what or how they were going to fare, given that they were going on the road. It fell behind 17-0 early as such. And then, of course, Alabama was able to come back and rally, obviously win 34-24. Huge win for Kalen DeBoer and company. This is a bad loss for Oklahoma, though, because I thought they would play a lot better than they did. Unfortunately, they did not, and Alabama walks away with a huge win. It'll play Indiana in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. That was a pretty exciting game because of the comeback element to it. And then Miami wins a defensive slugfest over Texas A&M, which I did not have. I thought A&M would win that game, and A&M did not. So I obviously very impressive ending there for Miami's defense to seal the game with the interception, and that's a big win for Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal used to be the coach, or you can't trust Mario Cristobal when it comes to November, and all of a sudden now he's out here winning CFP games. It will get the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State coming up here on New Year's Eve in Arlington, Texas. That'll be a very exciting game as well. That's a game that's worth tuning in for because of the high stakes of it. A lot of exciting stuff from that matchup. and so much more. In fact, we even have a comment from someone. And unfortunately, I won't be reading that. That's a spam from Kick. But thank you for the interaction. Anyway, we will not be popping that. But nonetheless, though, that's a big win for Miami and Alabama. Moving on, Oregon defeated James Madison 51-34 to the surprising dissatisfaction of Oregon Ducks head coach Dan Lanning. I wrote about this for the Sporting News within the last couple of days. You can check it out as we've been pumping out content galore this month for TSN. It's been a really good month over there just in regards to output. It's been a lot of fun. We're approaching 90 stories as of just this month alone for them. So shout out to I guess shout out to myself for my production value there. But yeah, overall though, it's been good. But yeah, that was one of the pieces that I took a look at, and it's one of those where I think it's one of those where Oregon did what it needed to do to win, but to get up to a 34-6 lead and somehow squander it away is a huge concern, because now you're playing a Texas Tech team in a couple weeks where they're not going to do that. They're going to be great defensively, and they're going to cause some problems. And I think if Oregon falls behind, that's going to be a recipe for disaster. So that's something to bear in mind as well, is you don't know what Oregon team you're going to get until it actually shows up. And I think Texas Tech is a game that it's going to have to show up for as well. So, yeah, overall, and then Ole Miss beating Tulane was not a surprise. That was the least surprising outcome of the whole weekend. Ole Miss will move on, and they will play Georgia. Georgia was one of the teams as well that got a bye to the quarterfinal round there. So that's basically the college football playoffs so far. The only prediction I've gotten wrong so far through the first part of this is Miami versus A&M. So we'll hope to keep that going as such, which I'm very excited about. And it should be a fun New Year's Eve and New Year's Day of college football as the college football playoffs roll onward. All right, week 16 in the NFL. Let's talk about that. Week 16 was a crazy week in the NFL. It was one of the best weeks in a really, really long time. What did we have from week 16 that was notable? I think we had a lot of stuff from week 16, honestly. I mean, it was a very, very chaotic week. A chaotic week of sorts, to where you didn't really know what you were going to get from week 16 until week 16 actually happened. And that's what we got. So let's start on Saturday. We had the Eagles defeating the Commanders to take command of I don't know why. Sorry, it was up for 10 seconds. Let me fix that. Did not even realize that. Let's fix that. Okay, there we go. Anyway, week 16, Eagles defeated the Commanders in Landover. In a very, very easy win for them, or DC. I mean, the Eagles won. Of course, Philadelphia is the better team. The Commanders have nothing to play for, but it means for the first time in 21 years that there's a repeat NFC East champion, which I think is something to behold as well, because the NFC East is a tough division. It's a tough division in the sense that you don't know how the division is going to play out until the season actually starts. And for the most part, the division champion is different every year. So that's another notable thing, is that every year the unpredictability is so obvious that when it comes to crowning a division winner, you don't know what you're going to get. And obviously this year was the Eagles' year, and the Eagles won it. So the Eagles are in the playoffs. The Eagles are division champions. More than likely will host a home playoff game as such, because they are division champions as well. I think that'll be interesting. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the part that everybody's been waiting for me to talk about, which is about the Bears. And that's a perfect segue into the NFC North scenario. So The Bears win in improbable fashion, knocking off the Green Bay Packers in overtime 22-16. The Bears were trailing as much as 16-6 in the fourth quarter, if you will, before a furious rally by the Bears ensued. It was a field goal from Cairo Santos to cut it to a one-score game. Then you had Josh Blackwell recovering an onside kick. And then, of course, you had the moment, which was in overtime, the Bears recover a fumble. Caleb Williams gets the ball back, and of course, a 46-yard touchdown pass to DJ Moore to win the game for the Bears. Clinched win number 11, and of course, the Bears got even better news on Sunday, which is why I want to pop this, as the NFC North scenarios are officially taking shape here. So, with that said, the Lions played the Steelers, and the scenario was simple. If the Steelers beat Detroit, the Bears would be in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. And by some miracle, 29-24, despite a touchdown that was called back due to an offensive pass interference on the final play of the game, the Bears are playoff bound for the first time in 5 years, which is a huge deal. Now the next step is going to be, can the Bears secure the NFC North? The Bears have the easiest path to win the division out of any team in the NFC North, which is simply put, no matter what the Packers or the Lions do, as long as the Bears win one of their final 2 games, they will be division champions for the first time since 2018. So that's really exciting as well. I'm curious to see how that plays out. The Bears get San Francisco this weekend. It's a national TV game in Santa Clara. And then we don't know what time the game is yet, but week 18, the Bears will host the Lions, which, given where the Lions are, the Lions may need that game to get into the playoffs. So this is what will need to happen in the NFC North for any of these other crazy scenarios to occur. So let's talk about those. The updated scenarios going into week 17. All right, here we go. Here we go. Oh, did we get a comment or something? Let's see. I heard a bump. Didn't you hear a bump? I don't know what that was. All right, let's talk about it. All right, so let's talk about the first elephant in the room, which is how the Bears can clinch the number 1 overall seed, which is harder than it looks. Okay, so let's talk about this. So the NFC North, it's as simple as this, according to Bears Wire, after clinching a playoff spot courtesy of the Detroit Lions and their loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Bears can lock up their first NFC North title since 2018 this weekend. If the Bears beat the 49ers on Sunday night, they'll win the NFC North. But the Bears might even clinch the division before hitting the field if the Baltimore Ravens defeat the Green Bay Packers on Saturday. Chicago needs to win one of their final 2 games to lock up the division. So, very interesting. So there's 2 possible paths in there this week. Can the Bears clinch the number 2 seed? Yes, they can. If the Bears win at least one of their final 2 games, they'll lock the number 2 seed up. That can be as early as Sunday night against San Francisco. How the Bears can clinch the number 1 overall seed and the road to the Super Bowl goes through Soldier Field, well, very unlikely. The Bears would have to win out against the 49ers in Detroit, and Seattle would have to lose one of their final 2 games to Carolina or San Francisco to make that a reality. So, with all that being said, the Bears are in the playoffs. That is the NFC North scenario for them to get in. Let's take a look at the other NFC North scenarios for Green Bay and Detroit. Here we go. So, let's take a look at Detroit first because it's the most easily accessible. All right. according to Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. Okay. So, if the Packers beat the Ravens this week, the Packers would more than likely go back into. Hang on, this is as of. Let me just make sure. Oh, this is before the Steelers game. So let's take a look at after, because before it was involving Green Bay and a couple other things. Let's see. I did not have this prepared for whatever. I thought it would just pop up. All right. Lions have the hardest path in. So the Lions would need to win their final 2 games and the Packers to lose their final 2 games. We'll also need to help with the Bears losing their final 2 games to clinch a division title or a playoff spot. Sorry, I thought I lost where I was. Nonetheless, though, that's pretty crazy. So again, just to go through that once more, the Lions have a pulse, but in order to win the division, it would need the Packers to lose out, which would be losses to Baltimore and Minnesota, the Bears to lose one of their final 2 games, which could come against the 49ers or the Lions themselves. More than likely the Lions, though, because it directly impacts them. And the Lions to win their remaining games. So they need a miracle run is essentially what the internet is getting to. All right, let's look at the Packers NFC clinching scenarios, because they made life way harder after their loss to the Bears this past Saturday night. All right, here we go. The Packers have one scenario to win the division. Here it is. The Packers beat the Ravens on Saturday. If it doesn't happen, the Packers season is over before Sunday even hits. The 49ers beat the Bears on national TV. Then the next week, the Packers beat the Vikings and the Lions beat the Bears. So it's pretty simple. All the Bears have to do is win one game. You need chaos to happen for the other 2 teams. It's as simple as that. So there is the clinching scenarios in the NFC North. Let's talk about some college football now. Let's look at this Ohio State FOIA request when it comes to Barstool Sports as well. So Ohio State Barstool. All right, here we go. FOIA. All right. Shout out to the 16 people that are watching. Let's take a look at the awful announcing story. Dave Portnoy mocks hilarious private emails showing Ohio State officials calling his Fox deal disappointing. According to the former senior sports information director at Ohio State, well, I don't know why there's an echo all of a sudden. I didn't do anything to cause that. That's weird. According to the senior sports information director at Ohio State, he wrote that it is very disappointing that Fox is aligning with Barstool, which is very interesting. A marketing executive at Ohio State wrote in a different message to representatives of other Big Ten universities that the Big Ten banned Portnoy from all Big Ten games, which is not true, because as someone who covered Illinois versus Ohio State earlier this year and Illinois versus USC, Portnoy was at both games, so that's a load of baloney. So I don't believe that. This is what Portnoy wrote in response to this. Listen, Ohio State may be preparing for the playoffs, and Michigan may be in chaos, but when I yell boo, Brutus still jumps into a closet and calls the cops because the bad man is knocking. As long as Portnoy sticks with the kayfabe and neither Fox nor the Big Ten comes up with a clear policy about his involvement with BNK, viewers will wait week by week to see whether he's on the show. Typically this season, Portnoy was used in solo segments in the crowd or playing off other BNK panelists in short spurts because the network opted not to have Portnoy on the desk much. Not having him in stadium to make picks wasn't too much of a distraction. Clearly, Portnoy was not outright banned by the conference. The majority of BNK shows are on Big Ten campuses due to Fox's exclusive partnership with the conference, and Portnoy appeared most weeks on the show. I think this is a non-story. To be quite honest with you, I think this is clearly a non-story because if Ohio State had such an issue with him, really, he would be banned. This is stupid. This is somebody. Not the reporter's fault. They got to do their reporting because they're hearing tips. But this is someone who is causing a ruckus, an unknown person who's just trying to get a rise out of anyone who is interested. So I don't buy this for a second that this is even remotely a thing. Nor do I think that this is going to impact Portnoy in any way. He's already too big for everybody else anyway. He's doing this for the benefit of the network, not himself, because the network's trying to get ratings and they're trying to do everything they can to make sure that people tune in and watch, and Portnoy is a driving force of that. So not much really more to say on that other than people got to calm down. All right. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua. In this first second, I don't know what keeps going on. I don't know why this is a thing, but here we go. All right, Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua took place this past Friday from the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida. And of course, everybody wants my reaction to what I thought of the fight. So Anthony Joshua, for those of you who don't know by now, knocked out Jake Paul in round 6 in a devastating sequence up against the ropes, and flatlined Jake Paul, broke his jaw in 2 places, and became the first fighter ever to knock Jake Paul out. So this was an exciting one because overall, the people wanted to see what the spectacle of this fight was really going to be like. And Anthony Joshua did what he was supposed to do. He left no doubt who the better fighter was. He clearly showed that Jake Paul was a shell of who he thought he was, and the way he knocked him out, the effortless fashion in which he did it was devastating. So all I could really say was this fight was stupid. There was more wrestling in this fight, which is illegal in boxing, than anything, or attempted wrestling, if you will. And all I can really say is Jake Paul gave his best effort, but it wasn't enough. It's simple as that. It wasn't enough. He could have done a little bit more, and he could have gotten off a little faster. Anthony Joshua was trying to, in so many words, make that fight as competitive as possible, and Jake still folded under the pressure. So I was not a huge fan of this fight at all. Jake's going to take some time. If there's rumors that he might be retired, let me see here. I saw one of those accounts that that was completely made up. So you got to stop with these aggregator accounts and listening to them unless it's a legitimate source saying that he's retired. He's not retired. Come on, guys. He just needs a year off. It's as simple as that. He needs a year off. Anthony Joshua needs to go fight Tyson Fury. That's what we should really be talking about here, is will Tyson Fury come out of retirement? And if he does, will he fight Joshua? I don't know. But what I can tell you is this. It was a spectacle. It was an interesting event. Shout out to Anderson Silva for knocking out Tyron Woodley. And that's that. All right, one final topic before we get out of here for the morning, and we move on with the rest of our Mondays here. Illinois versus Missouri is tonight from St. Louis. It's the bragging rights game. let's take a look at some of the exciting notes leading into this game and why I think you should watch it. Tip-off tonight is at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox, or excuse me, FS1. And shout out to whoever just bought my bragging rights tickets. That's extra money in my pocket. I appreciate you, whoever you are, because I cannot make the game tonight. So thankfully, we were able to make some money off this game. So shout out to whoever bought these things. Thank you so much. All right. So let's take a look at the game notes, though, courtesy of the Illinois Athletic Department. Let's take a look at some game notes. Illinois comes into this game at 8-3, 1-1 in the Big Ten. Missouri is yet to play an SEC opponent. It is 10-2. All right, here we go. So let's take a look at some of the notes here. This is the 45th edition of the McBride-Holmes bragging rights game between Illinois and Missouri. Illinois is looking to win its third bragging rights game in a row. First time that they would extend a stretch this long since 2013 to 2017. Illinois, it's his first game back in, let's see, it was back on December 13th, so 9 days ago. Lost in Nebraska at the buzzer. We all know that. Illinois is 12th in net rankings, 3-3 in quad 1 games. The bragging rights game is a quad 2 opportunity. Let's see. Illinois' total of 3 quad 1 wins is tied for 6th most in the NCAA. Illinois is number 12 in KenPom rankings with the net ranking of plus 26.62, the number 3 rated offense in the nation. Let's take a look at some other notes regarding players. Freshman guard Keaton Wagler ranks amongst the top players in the Big Ten with 51 free throws made. Forward Devad Mirkovic is one of only 4 freshmen in the nation, averaging at least 13.5 points and 6.3 defensive rebounds a game, 8.5 rebounds overall through December 18th. Kylan Boswell is the leading scorer on Illinois. He's one of only 3 Big Ten players averaging anything better than 16 points and 4 rebounds. Andrei Stojakovic has been unbelievable so far. His best game, of course, was a 23-point outing against number 11 Texas Tech. Can he repeat the feat tonight? And I hear Missouri has a few injuries as well to note. So let's give a pick for this game. I think Illinois wins this game. I think it's going to be 86-76. I think it'll be a comfortable 10-point win. I think Dennis Gates has his team going in the right direction as well. And obviously Missouri's 10-2, so they got to be a pretty good team, right, overall. And I think he's doing a pretty good job. I mean, even taking a look at Missouri's schedule so far, just to kind of see where they're at. I mean, their first big test is going to come after the new year against Florida, but let's take a look at who they played thus far. It's won its last 2 games in a row going into the bragging rights game, so the momentum is there for a huge Missouri win if it were to do so and knock off a ranked Illinois team as well. Its last 2 wins are against Alabama State and Bethune-Cookman, so nothing to write home about. It does have a win over Minnesota, though, which is interesting. And, tip-off is set for 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on FS1 from the Enterprise Center. I know a few people are going to the game, so if you are going, have a wonderful, wonderful time. And, that's going to do it, though, for Zain Zinger Part 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Again, just a final reminder before we get out of here, episode 72 will be returning in your life wherever you get your podcast, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. Everything we missed in December, recap of my trip to Nashville for the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl, and so much more. You won't want to miss the episode. Shout out to the 17, 18 or so people that tuned in to today's stream. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you all. You guys truly are the lifeblood of this thing when it comes to any of my content. Be sure to follow me on social media at Zain Bando 99 and follow the show at Bando's Breakdown as well, so you don't miss any of the latest clips and all that good stuff as well. So, For everybody here at the ETB Network, my name is Zain Bando. This has been Zan Zinger Part 2. Have a great rest of your Monday. I greatly appreciate you all, and thank you so much for listening and being so loyal to all of the content that I produce. But until next time, it'll be a Saturday edition this coming weekend, as my travels are more than likely going to be Sunday to Nashville. So you will get a Saturday special edition of Zan Zinger. Bando's Blitz will drop Sunday morning. But until then, Merry Christmas, and hope you all have a wonderful holiday week and remainder of the holiday season as it ramps up here. So stay tuned, have a good one, and we will talk to you guys later. Cheers.